Today we're going to be talking about something that really excites me, and that is how to break down big, huge, scary goals. If you are someone who has like a side hustle or a teachers pay teachers store or online, you know, whatever, then chances are you probably have big goals, because very few of us start an online business being like, oh, that might work out and it might not. Most of us start out, and even if like at the very beginning you don't have big goals, very soon you become very ambitious, because as soon as the sales start rolling in, you want to make more. And so in this video, we're gonna be talking about how to take those big, huge, scary goals and break them down into actionable pieces to make sure that you actually get them done. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, then you are in the right place. And very quickly, hi, my name is Becca. I am an elementary music teacher who is like a side hustle crazy person, and so on this channel we talk about side hustles and how to kind of balance out your life and your business and all of the things that you've got going on so that you can have, you know, a happy, productive, multifaceted life. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, then definitely hit that subscribe button down below. All right, so when it comes to big goals, the first thing that happens is that sometimes if the goal is a little extra big, you can get almost frozen in place before you actually even start on the goal. So before you even start work, you might get to this point where you're like, oh my gosh, like I don't even know what to do. I don't know how to make this happen. And you're like lost before you even get started. So the first thing you need to know is that you don't need to be frozen or scared or confused of big, crazy goals. A goal can be big, it can be scary, and that's okay, but it doesn't need to bog you down. Don't get so hung up on, oh my gosh, am I gonna be able to do this, that you don't move forward, okay? So first of all, just get over that fear, get over that feeling, and then meet me on the next stage. So the actual step one of how to break down your giant goals is to come up with your big, huge, giant goal. So this could be something you're working on for a whole year. It could be a big project that you're working on. A goal can be, I mean, pretty much anything. So I'm thinking like I am working on a new course that I'm making, and that is a big project, and that's a pretty big goal for me because there's so many different steps and there's so many different things in there that there's a lot of stuff to do. Now, some people will tell you that a project is not a goal. I'm here to tell you I don't care what you call it. They feel very similar, so we're gonna call them all the same thing. Another thing that might be a big goal is if you have a goal to have a certain number of products in a year that are created, or if you have a certain number of YouTube videos that you want to post in a certain year. So there's things like that that are more of habits, more of things that are continuing versus something that's just like one big project. Another thing that could be a goal is something that's a little more abstract, like I want to make a certain amount of money, or I want to lose a certain amount of weight. Whatever your goal is, you can take this same framework and apply it to those things. But the first step is to come up with what your goal is going to be. Now, when you come up with this goal or project or whatever you're working on, you want to think about a couple of things. Now, first of all, if you haven't already heard my rant about how much I despise SMART goals because I think they make you dream small and not reach for all the things you can, I'll leave a whole link to a video down below where I discuss my hatred of SMART goals. If you're not sure, SMART is an acronym for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. And so it's like a framework to help you make your goals. And they work in the short run, but for big things, they're usually things that maybe don't feel attainable, or maybe you don't have a good time to put on in. That's okay. So we're not gonna talk about SMART goals because I hate them. But what I am gonna tell you is that whatever your goal is, you should have a specific end in mind. So that measurable part of the SMART goal is what this is. You want something that can be measured. You want to be able to check off like, yes, I hit that goal. I made that much money. I lost that much weight. I finished that project. I made all of the videos. Like whatever your goal is, you want to have something. Think of it as like, can I actually check this box off? If your goal is something like, I want to earn more money. Like, okay, more than what? what counts as that? Like, at what point do you check the box? You want to make it very specific as to like when you get to check the box that like you finished that thing. So make sure that your goal does have something in there that is measurable so that you can actually say yes or no, did I finish this thing? The end. I'm not super fussy about them being super attainable or super time bound, because I feel like if you get stuck on the attainable, then you don't dream big enough. So I would rather you dream big and not quite hit it than to focus on the attainable piece and make something that you can check off pretty easily. We don't want things we can check off easily. We want big, huge goals. Anyway, I'm assuming if you're here, you already know what your goal is going to be, so you can move on to number 2. Number 2 is coming up with specific things that you can do and check off, little check boxes that you can do to help with that goal. So some of those are going to be obvious, like if you have a goal to write 10 blog posts, then things you can do to write 10 blog posts would be write blog posts, you know, like those are your specific things. Those are your action steps, we're gonna call them. Those are your action steps to get to your goal. If you have a goal that's like a project, like a course that's a little bit more in depth, then your action steps are gonna change. So you might have action steps that are like, decide what the course is gonna be on, outline the course, you know, decide what you're gonna say, film the course, make the printables, write the emails to send to your email list so that people will buy your course. Like those are gonna be your action steps. So sometimes your action steps will be all the same thing, like write blogs, and sometimes they're going to be different. It just kind of depends on what you're doing. If you have it something that is a more abstract goal, so things like I want to hit so many subscribers on my email list, or I want to make so much money, or I want to lose so much weight, those things are going to require a little more effort in this section. But this is where a lot of people kind of get lost, because if you just say like, I want to have, you know, 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, but then you don't actually like figure out how you're gonna do that, then there's a problem, because then you won't actually do it because you don't know how. So whatever your goal is, go ahead and just start by like brain dumping all of the ideas. So like anything that can help you. So let's talk about email lists. If you're trying to build your email list, things that could help you build your email list would be things like making a new lead magnet, which is what you give people for free when they sign up for your email list. It could be having some videos or blog posts or whatever it is that you create that talk about your lead magnet so that people know that it exists and want to go buy it. It could be something like putting your link for your email list in different places. It could be figuring out how to make an email list if you don't even know how to make an email list. So all of those things would be your action steps that you would go into in order to hit that goal. If you have a revenue goal, then you're gonna want to look at a couple of different things. And this is usually what people's goals are when we're talking, because we usually talk online business, side hustles, that kind of stuff. So I'll break it down a little bit more and say that if you have a revenue goal, typically you're gonna wanna look at either traffic, conversions, or products, or all three. So what I mean by that is if you increase your traffic to your products, that will increase how many you sell. So increasing traffic could be something like making YouTube videos about your products, or talking about them on social media, or increasing your SEO and making sure that's really up to snuff. Like those things are going to help people find your store, find your products. So that's going to increase your traffic. For conversions, conversions are how many people land on your page and actually purchase. So if you're losing people, then focus on ways that you can explain your product better, because typically if someone doesn't purchase, it's because they don't understand why it's amazing for them, okay? And then the third thing you can do is to create more products. So maybe you decide to add a new set of products. Maybe you decide to do like a big product line. Maybe you do a new course, like whatever it is. Those are kind of the 3 ways that you can increase your income online, at least. If you are talking about non-online things, I'm sure there's ways to do that too. But since I'm a teacher, the only way to increase my income is to get another degree. And those things are expensive and a lot of work. So it's on the list, but we're not quite there yet. So whatever it is that you need to do, you need to break it down into actionable steps that you can check off as you go. Okay, Now, once you have this whole big, huge list of things, you might find that some of these things are not helpful. Because if you're like me and you're an idea person, like I have all of the ideas. And sometimes I have ideas that are not as good as other ideas. And sometimes I just have so many that there's no way I could possibly finish them all. That's usually my main problem, is there's just no way I could possibly ever finish all of the ideas. So you want to go through and decide which ones you actually want to do and which ones you're actually going to do right now. That doesn't mean you can't do the other ones. It just means like right now, what you're going to do, and then we can, you know, revisit it later on in the future. Go through and maybe like with a highlighter or something, you can like highlight the ones you want to do or circle the ones you want to do or put them on a new piece of paper or whatever that is, so that you have a list of like what you're actually planning to do. Okay, so we had come up with your giant goal, come up with your action steps, and then sort them through and decide what you're actually going to do. Now, once you know what those action steps are, you need to decide when you're going to do the action steps, which is the second biggest flaw that I see. Biggest flaw number one is not coming up with action steps. Biggest flaw number two is not deciding when you're going to do this. Because it's great to be like, oh, I'm gonna do all of these things, but if you don't actually give yourself time to do all these things, then they're not gonna happen. So go ahead and take out your calendar, take out your planner, take out your, what do techie people use? Like digital planners? Google Calendar? I don't know. Take out whatever it is that you plan things on and make actual like appointments with yourself for when these things are going to get done. How I like to do this is I have what I call a project block built into my week. So I have usually during school, usually during the school year, I have an hour before I go to work that I call my project block. And during that hour each morning, I can work on whatever my projects are. And so those projects might be things like batching my blog posts. It might be things like, you know, creating a new course. It might be things like writing a new book. Like those things are projects that I get to put in that project block, and that ensures that I know that they're going to get done, because if I put them in the project block, then I'm going to do them, because I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna work out, and then I'm gonna sit on this couch over here and snuggle with my dog, and I'm going to work on whatever it is that is assigned to me on that day. So how I like to do this is kind of to go by the week, and so that way I can look like longer term out. And I'll actually sometimes like on a calendar, but more often than not, I literally just write on a piece of paper like week 1, week 2, week 3, or like the dates, and I'll put those things, those action steps into each week. So I'm breaking it down from here are my action steps to here's when they're gonna happen. And the reason I do each week is because one, I have that project block so I know what time it's gonna be, and then two, when you're, you know, weeks and weeks ahead, it's just helpful to see it that way. That's how my brain works. I don't know, maybe you won't like that, that's fine too. So each week I'll have written down like, okay, June the 15th, June 13th through 17th, because that's Monday through Friday, then I'm working on XYZ. So right now, actually, my big project is that I'm batching my blog posts. So I'm trying to write all the blog posts for the year in like 3 weeks. On last week and on this week, my project blocked little like planner thing, it said like June 12th through 17th, 13th through, I don't know, whatever those dates were, write 10 blog posts, okay? Because that's 2 per day, and that's the most that I find doable. And that also typically will fit into that hour block of time, a little bit more, but since I'm on summer, I'm not worried about it. So that's what I write on the calendar. I say, okay, this week, that's what I'm doing. Next week, for example, I think I only have 2 blogs to write. And so it says like finish blogs, and then it says to do all the graphics and all the scheduling and all of that's gonna be next week's project. So those are things that you can write on there. If you have things that occur often, so if you're like maybe doing 1 video per week, then every week is gonna say 1 video, 1 video, 1 video, 1 video, okay? If you have other things, like if you're trying to lose weight, then you might have lose a pound, lose a pound, lose a pound. If you have an income goal, then break it down and figure out how much you need to earn per month and how much you need to earn per week. And then take it to every day, because it's really nice on the daily to be able to sit there and think like, okay, I hit my goal for the year today. And so if I can continue that, then we'll continue. And it fluctuates online, especially like I sell teaching resources. Right now it's the middle of June. I'm not selling anything. It's very depressing. But I know that there's been other days that I've been over my income goal for the day. So just figure out, you know, okay, I need to make this much per week, this much per week, this much per week. Okay, so those things can be on your list. If you have other things that change, like for example, writing blog posts versus graphics, scheduling, that kind of stuff, then your action items are gonna change. So it just depends on what it is, or you could be more specific and say like, I'm gonna make this particular video, that particular video, or whatever it is. But whatever you're doing, actually decide like when you're going to do them. And don't just stop there. Make sure that you actually have time in the day to make that happen. Like I mentioned, I have a project block dedicated to all of these things because I know I need time to make them happen. So if this is something new, especially for you, then you're gonna wanna look at your week and figure out where you can add in some time. And you may not be able to do the same time every day or the same time every week, and that's fine. Just make sure that you have time planned out, that you schedule like an appointment, that you're like, this is when I'm gonna work on my action items to go towards my goal, okay? Now, that might be after your kids go to bed. That might be, you know, on Tuesday and Saturday morning because you're kids are at dance class, like I don't know, whatever you've got going on. But just like schedule those things out. It doesn't have to be every day. It doesn't have, you know, but just make sure you know when those are gonna happen. And if it's going to change, then check in with yourself each week and look at the calendar and say, okay, this week, when can I work on my action items? This week, what am I gonna be able to do? So on and so forth. If you do not schedule the time and you do not have the time, then you will not make the time and you will not make it happen. So make sure you have them. Now, one question I get when I share things like this is always, but how do I know like which things to put in which weeks? Okay, I love you, but 90% of the time, the answer is just pick something. So you might have some things that are like specific. So for my blogging example, I had to come up with ideas before I could write the blog post, and I got to write the blog post before I, you know, schedule everything out, right? So that was something where the order did matter. But if you just have like 4 different products that you want to make that you're gonna put into your online shop, and none of them have particular timelines, like none of them are seasonal or anything like that, then a lot of times the answer is just pick one and go for it, because you don't want to get so bogged down on the specifics that you're not moving forward. So just pick something. I did that. I have some products I need to make. And so I went week by week throughout the summer, and I said, okay, this week I'm going to work on these products, and this week I'm going to work on these products. And there was not a lot of rhyme or reason into like what I put when. It was just like, these need to get done. So we'll do those, and then we'll do those, and then we'll do those, and it's going to be great. So just don't get so frustrated on like the when. If something doesn't have a specific timeline, then just throw them wherever they need to go. The exception to that is if you know that there's going to be certain weeks that you are going to be extra busy, then you may not want those weeks to have a lot of stuff on them. So like if you are going out of town, or you have you know, you're in somebody's wedding, or like things like that where like there's gonna be a lot of stuff happening, then you might want to make those weeks a little bit lighter. So just a thought, just a suggestion. Anyway, now once you've scheduled out like week by week and when you're gonna work throughout the week, then the next thing is going to be to check in with yourself weekly. This is a non-negotiable. Weekly. Every single week, I want you to sit down, maybe on Friday, maybe on Monday, maybe over the weekend, and like check in with yourself and see where you are on your path to this big, huge goal. Because if you don't check in with yourself, then you're likely to just forget and then just like not ever make it happen. So just once a week, sit down and think, okay, did I hit all of my action items for last week? If I didn't, why not? What are things that maybe I need to not do next week? What are things I need to do next week? Like, how can I do better next week? And then set up and make sure you know when you're gonna work next week and what you're gonna work on next week if you haven't already figured that out. This is actually a really quick process. I know it sounds like kind of a lot, but it takes about 10-ish minutes. I do this every week. I just sit down and say, okay, did I check off all my action items for this week? If not, why not? What do I need to do next week? How can I improve a little bit next week? And then what do I need to work on? And then I just go through my planner and I add in all of those things to each day, since I told you I do like weekly. So that's the point at which I'll go through and say like, okay, I need to, you know, make sure I write 2 blog posts, 2 blog posts, 2 blog posts. I need to film these videos. I need to do whatever that is throughout the week. It takes about 10 minutes, but it will save you so much time and help you really keep on track, because you can see if you didn't hit your action items, it's okay if you don't hit them like once or twice, but if you notice that there's a lot of weeks that you're not hitting them, then you need to go to step number 5, which is adjust as needed. This is a really important point, because if you have big projects, that usually means that they are long-term things that you're working on. And if they are long-term things that you're working on, a lot of times you don't know what's gonna be happening down the road. Okay, it's like in January, if you're trying to plan out the whole year, I have no earthly idea what's going to be happening in December. How on earth could I plan it in January? And so make sure that you have those weekly check-ins so that you can adjust. If you're like, I can't write that many blog posts, or this is taking longer than I thought, or this is going faster than I thought, then you can adjust your timeline, you can adjust your action items as you go. Don't get stuck trying to stick to a system that's not working for you. The whole point of planning, the whole point of doing this is to help you make progress. And if it's not helping, you need to do something to make it help, because if it's not working, then you need to make it work. You need to do something to make sure that it is being useful. So sit down with yourself, make sure you're on track, and if you're not on track, figure out, okay, do I need to adjust something? You know, are there better products I could be making? Are there, like, do I need to work slower? Do I need to work faster? Like, what do I need to do? And adjust as needed. Don't be scared to change the plan. The plan is just, you know, paper and pen. I use erasable pens, so literally I can just erase the plan if I don't like it anymore. So just like have those things ready to go and feel free to adjust them, because it's totally fine. It's your plan, it's your life, it's your goal. So you can change it if you need to change it. All right, friends, I hope that was helpful and clear. I actually have a whole goal setting like freebie, so I will link that down below. And if you happen to be watching this in December, I have a goal setting workshop that is open for December and January, and then it shuts. So if it's not quite time yet, then either join my email list or go follow me on Instagram at becca.e.davis so that you will know when it is time for the goal setting course to be available, if that's something you're interested in. And yeah, thanks for hanging out. I would love to hear what your big goals are, so leave them down below in the comments if you feel like sharing. And I'll see you next time. Bye.